Hello everyone, welcome to this Python QA series where we answer questions from the comment section. If you have any question, just put it in the comments and we're going to answer it in the next video. In this video, we're answering how to reverse a string in Python. So to reverse a string in Python is very easy, as you can see here. As you can see here, you just use slices and you just specify -1 here, and this will reverse the string. So let me show you the demonstration here. So you see hello world has been reversed here. Now let's look at how the code actually works. So here I'm showing how an iterable appears in Python. This can be a string, or it can be a list, or it can be any iterable that uses integer indexing. So as you know, to access the first element, you use the index 0, and to access the next element, you use the index 1. For slicing, use square brackets and you specify the beginning of the slice and the end of the slice and the close of the bracket. As you know, the end is excluded from the final slice. For example, here if you specify the index 1 to 4, slicing will begin on index 1 and it will end on index 3. Therefore, this slice will just get the elements LIC. Alternatively, you can leave out the beginning of the slice, and in this case it will start from index 0 until the end of the slice. So in this example it will start from 0 until 3. As you know, it doesn't include the end of the slice, which is 4 here. Another way is that you can only specify the beginning of the slice and you leave out the end of the slice. In this case, the slicing will go until the final element that you have. So here in this example where we have from 1 and we leave out the end of the slice, here to slice from index 1 until the end of this. And finally, if you don't specify the beginning of the slice and the end of the slice, then it will just get everything. An optional element that we haven't talked about so far is the step size. This tells Python how many steps to take from the beginning of the slice to the next element. So when you don't specify the step size, the default is 1. For example, in this case, if you start at 1 and you're taking 1 step, it means the next element is 2. And if you take 1 more step here, the next element is 3. And as you already know, you don't include the end of the slice. So this is the default. The step size is 1. Look at this example where we specify the step size to be 2. So when it starts at the beginning of the slice, it's going to take 2 steps from this element to the next element, which is 1, 2, and therefore the next element that will be picked is in index 3. Therefore, the output of this slice will be L and C. It will skip I because of this step size of 2. One thing that we haven't talked about so far is that in Python you can use negative indices. Negative indices always start from the end of your variable. For example, here -1 index is the S here and -2 is E. -6 index is the S, which is 0 if you're using positive indices. And in slicing, you can also use negative indices just as we use positive indices. But just remember that negative indices are when you want to do a slice starting from the right. Let's say an example of using negative indices to take a slice here. So here we've specified from -1 to -4. So this is from -1. And as you know, the end of the index is not included. So it's up to -3. And we've taken a step size of -2. Which means from the beginning of the element, take -2 steps to the next element. So -2 steps means from the right side 2 steps. So here we take -2 steps, which is -1 and -2. So the output of this slice is SC. So this works whether you're using strings or lists or anything that use integer indices. So let's see this in code. For example, let me define a string slices. So to take a slice for this, we can just say slice. And if we want 1 to 4, we can do that. And this will take only from 1 to 4, so as we saw in the example. And if we specify a step size of 2, we only get L and C. It will skip 1 element. So I can get, for example, everything in this. So here I haven't specified the beginning of the slice and the end of the slice, which means the whole string here. And let me put a step size of 3. As you can see here, it has taken the first element, which is S, and it has taken 3 steps to go to the next element, which is 1, 2, and 3 is on the C. So that's why we have this. Now let's look at negative indices. So we had -1 to -4, and we take a step size of -2. So you see here, it takes the first element, the S, and then it takes -2 steps, and the next element is the C. We can use this indexing which starts from negative to reverse a string. So here we need the entire string, so we leave it blank here. But for the step size, we specify -1. So this will start -1, it will pick the last S, which is what we see here. Then it will pick the E until it reaches the end of the strings. So this is how we reverse a string in Python. And if you want to see the function, this is the function that we defined. And now we can use this function to reverse the text. So this will work just fine. And you can reverse anything that you want. So this is how we reverse a string in Python. Do you have a question that you want to be answered in the next video? Put it in the comments below. If you found this video useful, remember to like the video and to subscribe to the channel.